Welcome back to the channel and welcome to a very cool episode because it's going to have a special guest. So anybody who watched last week's episode will know that I recently traveled to the Bay Area of California for the special reveal of two Acura concept cars. So while I was in the area, I decided to try something a little bit unique and reach out to someone who I've never met before. So if you remember, I have a series of videos right now dating back to last November where I'm restoring a 1986 Acura Legend sedan, hopefully to be ready in 2 years for the Acura 40th anniversary. It's a 1986 car. It's a very early production build. In fact, it was assembled in June of 1986, just a few months after the brand took root. Anyway, so I bought that car from an auction, or rather from a dealership who bought it at auction. So really, when it arrived here at my house, I had zero paperwork on the car except for the title. The car came with its original 1986 date title, and it had a name and an address on it. So I took a chance on the fact that this individual who had owned the car for about 37, 38 years was still living and still in that location. So I sent a snail mail letter with some pictures and a little backstory on if this is your previous car, let me know. If not, throw this letter away. Well, I did get an email, and the original owner is awesome. His name is Ron, and he lives up in that Central California area, or NorCal, I guess, if you call it that. Um, Anyway, so I emailed Ron before flying out to Monterey for Car Week to see the reveals in Carmel. And as I was getting off the plane at the San Jose airport, I checked my email and I had a response from Ron saying, "If you're going to be in the area, here's my number." And I called him while standing in line to get my rental car. And he said, "Come over." And I had to do some really quick work because my time on the ground in San Jose was so short. I was supposed to fly back to Phoenix the next morning at 6:45 in the morning. So I very quickly changed my flight to extend my time in California by, I don't know, 8 hours or something, and arranged to meet up with Ron the next afternoon, or the next morning rather. Anyway, long story short, it was an incredible highlight of my trip. The Acura event in Monterey was amazing, but getting to meet Ron, this guy is 83 years old. He is not only an original owner of an Acura Legend, he's an original founding owner of the Acura brand. The fact that he bought this car, he actually took delivery October 21st of 1986. So brand new division of American Honda, and he took a chance on it and ended up keeping that car for almost 4 decades. And in the Q&A that I ended up having with him, I found out that the only reason really at the end of it all that he ended up donating the car was because he had a variety of other vehicles, and kind of like some of us do, he got a little distracted and let the car sit so long that the clutch slave cylinder went out, and eventually he just didn't have the resources to keep it on the road. It is getting tough to maintain these older cars nowadays. So anyway, what you'll see in this video is a sort of brief conversation that I had with Ron. He was extremely hospitable, actually invited me to his house. He had bananas and refreshments ready for me, and we took his Civic to lunch. Funniest thing of it all, we get in his Civic to take it down the hill, and it has my Legend floor mats in it. I've been looking nationwide for a set of that color first generation Legend sedan floor mats, and he happens to have kept them, and he's using them in his 2000 Civic. So I didn't have the heart to really push him to get those floor mats back, but I thought it was kind of funny and maybe a little bit sentimental that he decided to keep those floor mats for one of his other cars. Although he did give me some stuff, and I'm going to show you here in a second some of the treasures I came home with after my dialogue with Ron. But it just goes to show you that it never hurts to kind of reach out, and he was thrilled. You know, when he donated that car, he was fairly certain he would never see it again or hear from it. And the fact now that it's in the hands of an enthusiast who's going to not only restore and preserve it, but also showcase it in dealers and other venues for the 40th anniversary of the Acura brand, he is absolutely thrilled with that. And I'm excited to show him the car when it's fully restored. and maybe go pick them up for a ride at some point. So let me show you the stuff that Ron sent me home with. So first of all, here are some pictures I had blown up from magazine or from newspaper articles or ads for the dealership that Ron bought my Legend from. And the building itself is still there, although it's very rundown. And last I heard was had received approval for demolition and some condo construction. But it was called Manly Acura, and it was in Santa Cruz, California. And here you can see some of the pricing for not only the '86 Acura Legend, but the other vehicles that were on the lot. You could have an '83 Prelude for $9,900 and so on. And over here, I'll show you the items that I brought home in my carry-on luggage. I was absolutely thrilled when Ron produced this. He actually had the original license plates off the car, and this is significant for a lot of reasons. The blue and yellow plate scheme in California, if I'm not mistaken, was discontinued shortly after 1986. This may have been one of the last sort of sequences from a letter perspective that were produced in that color combo. You'll notice that this plate expired in '01. I don't know if that's necessarily because the car was unregistered for 23 years or if he just didn't put the sticker on it, but I do believe the car had sat for a very long time. Again, one of the reasons why he ended up being okay with donating it, but that was awesome that he produced that. He also gave me a service manual from 1986. You'll notice here he had a Post-it note for the oil filter kit part number. Ron is a retired aircraft mechanic. He worked for almost 50 years for United Airlines, and so it goes without saying that he took very good care of the car and did all of his own work on it. Last but not least, he sent me home with some magazines. This one is my favorite because it's issue 1, volume 1. And Acura doesn't do much for print publication anymore for customers or owners, but this was an issue that discussed sort of the launch of the brand, some background on sort of how things came about. There's even a story on what the name was derived from. And I think this is all very significant stuff because the fact that the anniversary now will happen in less than 2 years is significant. And Acura definitely needs to recognize some of this history and the importance of these older models, the Legend and the Integra, in sort of setting that precedent in precision crafted, there it is, performance, because Acura still uses that sort of overall arching theme even today. So anyway, I can't thank Ron enough. He may or may not ever get on YouTube, but he was an incredible host, and I will definitely keep him posted on the progress with that '86 Legend. And with that, let me show you his interview. I'm coming to you on a beautiful day in the Bay Area of California. And you all know I'm from Arizona, so this is a real treat for the weather aspect, but it's an even bigger treat because I'm sitting next to a celebrity named Ron. When you bought that '86 Legend 38 years ago in 1986, what were your impressions of the Acura brand? Like, had you ever even heard of Honda coming out with a new division?
No, it's brand new, and I was always interested in high performance vehicles. And to see something new come on the market, I was
Yeah,
intriguingly
yeah.
interested in it.
What were you driving before that?
An older Honda. Also, I had a Toyota,
So he knew about Japanese car
and
longevity.
my original first car was an Oldsmobile, a
What?
442 model.
So fast forward to October 21st, 1986. Ron picked up the Legend from a dealer that no longer exists. It was actually one of the founding dealers when the Acura brand launched. The car served him well for about 100,000 miles, just under 100K, in fact, until end of 2023. The car was donated, you said, to PBS, right?
Yeah.
After the Legend, you've gone on to own other performance-oriented Hondas, and they've all been manuals. you're you're as dedicated to the clutch pedal as I am.
Yeah, I like rowing.
Yeah,
That's
row,
what they call rowing.
rowing his own gears. And I'll tell you, The San Francisco Bay Area has a lot of hills, and you got to be good with the clutch pedal. Oh my gosh, if you're at all inexperienced, maybe you should practice somewhere else. But yeah, any special like memories you remember taking with the Legend over those 30 or so plus years? Or did it mostly just stick around locally?
Mostly local. Probably the longest trip was probably up to Reno,
Yeah,
Lake Tahoe, Reno area.
it's a great highway car. Fifth gear, 2.5 liter, just sings all day long. And what about any major issues you ever had with it? Do you ever remember having to put it on a tow truck?
No, no problems at all.
Wow. And that's cool because Ron did and still does all his own maintenance for the most part. And so um, to to have kept that car going for so long is awesome. What prompted you finally, after all those years, to say, I really should probably let this thing go?
I think the neighbors kind of wondering what I was going to do because it was just sitting in the
Yeah,
driveway.
it's every car
It's time to
part ways.
pass it
Yeah.
on.
Well, that's every car guy's greatest fear is running out of space and not having, the ability. Because we talked about this earlier. Cars need to be driven, exercised to keep things, in check. So that's very important too. As Acura comes up on 40 years, and do you find it hard to believe that it's been 40 years since you bought that car?
I don't believe it myself.
It's
I didn't
crazy.
realize it's been that
Oh
long.
yeah,
It's been the
crazy.
car's been absolutely
Bulletproof.
perfect. I mean,
Yeah.
no problems.
Yeah, which is cool because you hear a lot of woes about people buying a first year model. Well, let alone buying a first year of a brand, and you were pretty brave to go out there and do that, but it didn't treat you wrong, I guess. But he did stick with the V6 manual kind of motif because one of the cars Ron picked up is in the community, they're known as the Accord 6.6. It's a V6 with a six-speed manual. And then he also has a Civic Si, which is the EM1 chassis generation, super collectible in the tuner community with almost 170,000 miles. And we just drove that to lunch and back. And if you put masking tape over the odometer, you would never guess it has that many miles on it. So, what's your secret?
Change the oil,
Yeah, yeah.
oil and filter.
I think people overlook the importance of just basic maintenance sometimes. And anyway, I'm going to go catch my flight back home. But Ron, thank you for taking the time. Any final
Welcome.
parting advice for the Honda and Acura nerds in the audience?
Have good ears. If you hear something, check it out right away.
Agreed. And I've actually said this too with my nearly 600,000 mile Legend. I know every sound that car is going to make. I know every smell it's going to have. And if something doesn't seem, what's the saying in like the community crime enforcement? If you see something, say something. So the same thing applies for automotive maintenance. So anyway, coming to you from the San Francisco Bay Area. Thanks for checking us out. Easy. See?